A very good morning to you, Deepak, and good evening, my dear friends. A very warm welcome once again, and a big thank you for your contribution to the cause being promoted by our guest for this evening on the Suryodaya platform, Mr. Deepak Ramola. Thank you, Deepak, for always being there for Suryodaya and Millennium Mans, of course. Deepak, as you all know, he wears many hats, and today he is donning the hat of an author. And when comes to asking questions about life, who else can we think of but Deepak, who at this young age has explored the length and breadth of this world and has accumulated an enviable repertoire of anecdotes. The toughest question that I have for you, Deepak, today is how has Deepak Ramola managed to do so much at this young age? That would be question number 51. Do you agree with me? Yes. I'm eager to find out what these 50 toughest questions are and if I can take a leaf out of this session to implement in my life also. We are all ears, Deepak. So it's all yours, and we all welcome you. And now you can take the charge and let the session begin. Over to you,
Thank you.
Deepak.
Thank you so much, Rashna. I think in this group, fairly no, I feel I have done, and as you said, donned so many hats with the members here. Like I've been a facilitator, sometimes
Absolutely.
a talk curator with Project Fuel, obviously the whole wisdom historian angle. I feel there is no introduction, but you do it so lovingly that I don't mind it. I feel like it's still the first
No,
time.
no, and
Thank
you
you.
have been an offline champ for us, and then today online champ. So you are a champ.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
that's true. I think all those years ago that I signed up, in that auditorium to be a cheerleader for Millennium Mams, I think it still sustains. And thank you. It is an honor to be able to have you guys on our side. A lot of you have so generously contributed to the Tanzania Masai campaign, and it is going to be one of the greatest legacies. I mean, whenever you do visit Tanzania,
Absolutely.
you will be able to see that the community center is in part a reality because of your support as well. The women who walk 9 hours for water there, I was telling them about you all the last time I was there, and I was just telling this self-help group of the Maasai women who make Maasai jewelry and sell it. I said, there are amazing stories that I can take from here, and there are amazing stories I can bring from India. And you guys are also such an incredible part of those stories that I wish to take over and over again to the women there. So thank you for that. Coming to 50 toughest questions, wow guys, I think last winters I was uh, telling you about Ruskin Bond's book and all the other Gulzar Saab's book that we were picking up, and now we get to discuss my own book, which is amazing. The response to 50 toughest questions is what I want to start with. I got an email just a week and a half ago from somebody, and they said that uh, 50 toughest questions allowed them to sit down with their family and have a chance to understand and discover them all over again. And it was such a lovely email. It was like almost a 500 words email, but I think what I took from that was this essence that these questions for so many years have served me to discover myself, because our answers change all the time. And for some, you hope the answers don't change ever. And more so, they allow for us to understand people we love or people we don't know in a better light. I started with this, book as a reflex action to these girls in Afghanistan that I was teaching, and I've told you about many a times about my escapade in Afghanistan and teaching one of the last co-ed schools in Kabul. And before the Taliban shut it down, the principal of that school was a 21-year-old girl, And her life lesson to me on the last day, when the school was shut down and we were all very sad, she said, Deepak, life has taught me that you know it's not about giving easy answers, it's about answering tough questions. And as you might have read in the book, some of you, and it was so amusing to me, because I thought a 21-year-old girl who gets to be a principal of a school is fighting with the Taliban, has her name on their hit list in a way, gets to tell me that, hey, this situation is a tough question I'm navigating, and it's asking me to look within and come up with an answer. It has nothing to do with the Taliban, it has nothing to do with the extremist forces, but it has something to do with me. And as a response to that, I jumped on to thinking for myself, what are tough questions and who's asking them? And I started collecting. You know me, so now you know how crazy I am. So I just didn't let myself sit with that question and then go eat a sandwich. I actually thought, let me think what are tough questions and collect them. And so I spent a year and a half collecting tough questions from wherever I could: the internet, Oprah Winfrey show, the books I read. If I watched a TV show and somebody said something, I thought to myself, did that make me feel differently? Or if I watched a TED talk or anything. And I had 3,000 questions that I answered. And a lot of questions were very hard. Like, I took 8 months to answer certain questions. And maybe today I can share some of those with you that didn't make it to the book. So
That would be interesting.
yeah, I'll share some of the other ones with you as well. So in terms of the questions, people now say to me, oh my God, Deepak, some of the questions are really hard. And I'm like, aren't you glad I didn't do a book called 3,000 Toughest Questions of Life? Because you'll never get over. I just gave you 50. And you should be very, very grateful that I went through the fire of 3,000 and then was able to serve 50. Because I, over time, when I had done the activity for myself, I played it as a game for people I was dating, for new friends I was having, for colleagues I was hiring at Project Fuel. It sort of became my filter to who I wanted to include into my universe. And these 50 questions were so open ended, they were not a yes or no question, so I could understand what their lives are made of, and then where do I fit in those lives. As a result, I've played all these years with so many people. And last bit that I want to share, while you all kind of put together your questions, is I was in San Francisco in 2019, and in the February of 2019, and I went to a bookstore here, and I had no aspiration of writing a book. I had already too much on my plate. I was doing songs and teaching and Project Fuel and writing, and everything was happening. And I was at a bookstore, and I drifted to a self-help section. I pulled out a book from the shelf, and it you know gave me an answer on how to make better friends. I think it was one of those books. And then I picked another book and another book, and I spent 45 minutes in this section. And every book I picked had answers, somebody's answers on how to make friends, how to look pretty, how to groom yourself, how to. And I was so tired and exhausted, I remember, in that 45-minute book hopping scenario, that I turned to Rohit, Apurva's husband here, and I said, Arbi, nobody's asking the tough questions. And then I couldn't sleep that night because I knew I had the tough questions. In fact, 3,000 of them. And I wasn't sharing with them people openly. I had kind of reserved them in a very secret way for my friends and family. And so on my flight back from San Francisco that year, I started writing the first chapter. And literally the first chapter in the book is, did you not always know you'll end up here? And that was the first chapter. And it's hard to write a book. Most people are authors, and that's what they are. They're writers. And you will understand this really well with the book, that has come out of Millennium. It's amazing. The short stories, and the beauty of language that I've had the chance to read. The cover that, I'm sure they know if it's tangerine or if it's orange. I will call it orange for the every single detail of it is so beautifully thought through. But it's not easy to write a book while you're running a home. You are an entrepreneur or you have a job. In my case, when you're running an organization and you're have a sort of a public life, you have things to do and places to be, and then you are subjecting yourself with the gruesome pressure of writing a book. So I wrote 50 toughest question on airplanes. People think I would be sitting in my desk. Like, a lot of times when I do the interviews now, people say, how was it writing this book in Dehradun, sitting in your studio overlooking the mountains and soaking the sun? I was like, that's where I'm promoting the book because of COVID. That's not where I wrote the book. But in many ways that allowed me to jump into different moods and write different answers. And I want, of course, this session to be more about you. And I hope a lot of you have had the chance to read the book. So if you have any questions, we can do that, and then I can take you through my favorite parts in the book. And then I would like to ask you guys some questions, that some that are in the book and some that are not. So feel free to Rachna.
Yes, yeah, Deepak. Sonali, you can take up a few questions and then again we'll give it back to Deepak.
Okay.
Yes, Sonali, she is the coordinator for our Suryodaya platform.
Yes,
and
Sonali.
She is doing some wonderful work, Sonali.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Deepak, you were saying something.
I said thank you for the beautiful Instagram stories that you've been putting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my God, you have a follower, Sunali.
No, I follow Deepak. Okay.
Yes.
First of all, Deepak, I would really like to comment on your book. It's really heartwarming, and the questions we wouldn't answer ourselves. You forced us to answer them. So it's really heartwarming read for all of us, I'm sure.
Thank you.
So when I was reading the book, there were literally so many questions which I never thought someone would ask me, or for that matter, I will ask myself.
Thank you.
I would first request you to read a poem which I really loved. It's in chapter 11, the question number 11. The poem on love and pain. That's my first request to you. Then I'll proceed with the questions.
Okay, sure. So the question here is, are you grateful to your pain that it chose you over everyone else? And before I read the poem, I must tell you that I wrote this question, or created it, because everybody, when they are in pain, including myself, and I'm sure all of you, we just wish for it to leave us. And I often wondered, if pain left you, where would it go? Because of course the world cannot be empty of the pain. And if it would leave you and go somewhere, who should it go to? Who would you lend your pain to? And in all the years since I created that question, nobody really had an answer, because you wishing the pain to leave you is you being self-loving.
Yes.
You being very aware of who the pain should go to is you being mean to another person in a way, right?
Yes.
And so people could, though people have answered that, no, I'm not grateful for my pain that it chose me. And then the immediate question to ask is that, who would you choose as a carrier of this pain? Who would have the strength and the capacity? And in all these years, people haven't had an answer, because everybody is sort of fighting their own, battles, and being able to challenge and navigate through challenges. So that's the question to ponder upon, because it evokes empathy just by the sheer tenacity of someone's answer. And the poem that Sonali mentioned, I wrote while answering my question, all those years ago, was an encouragement poem that I call. Um, it says, "You gave love your trust. You gave pain your judgment. When love showed up, the arc of your lips rose. For pain, you only raised your eyebrows. You gave love every friend you earned. To pain, you shut down access to even yourself. You offer love multiple chances. You served pain with no time whatsoever. You gave love your whole being, and to pain, never an opportunity to win you back. You know what? Let the pain stay for a while because the love could not. And it is all right. It is all right." And the essence of that poem really is that don't be in a hurry to heal. Take time to have a void, and that void could be created by something painful. And once you acknowledge that void, a lot of us try to fill it through Instagram and social media, because the moment we have 10 minutes free, we don't want to be left alone with our thoughts. We want to scroll something. We want to read something, we want to jump onto something, and that distraction does nobody good, because internet is surface skimming. It doesn't allow depth. And in many ways, I think we try to skim surfaces when we are in pain, or when we are feeling anxious, or when we are having a bad day. uh, so allowing for that pain to take shape is something that I feel is quite important. And it can be anything. I mean, a lot of times you have expectations from your loved ones, your children, your partners, your relatives, your friend circle, and they don't live up to that expectation. And that also is pain to deal with, because there's a lot of trust and love that is invested into it. Yes, sorry, Suchi, you were saying something.
Yeah, I would like to add to this. I mean, there's a question in relation to this. Is like you are saying to maybe feel the depth of the pain, and that will help in the healing. But then not scrolling, but then maybe watching a movie or reading a book helps, because we tend to forget that part of the pain for that time. So it helps in the healing because we are diverting our mind. So what are
So
your views?
diverting is helpful, distracting is not. Because diverting means that sometimes you, like, if it's getting overwhelming, then you are layering it up with something that is allowing you to feel better. Distracting is covering up whatever is there. So I would say that those two things, I have understood for myself the difference of those two things. Because when we are distracted, what we are saying is, let's bury this and let's look somewhere else. Yes. Diverting also means that you're already on the path of healing. You're just taking another route to get there.
Okay.
Or you're stopping on the road trip to soak in. But that's another thing, that the diversion can also mean you go on a long walk and you try to process that. You people watch. So films, social media, these are quick fixes. But actually what I mean in the poem is, let the pain stay for a while, is to say, really go out on a walk and be distracted by the lives of others. If you have to be distracted, but in many ways be diverted by their stories. A lot of times when I'm in pain, I actually go and sit in a public park and I see all the people. I do like a people watching session for an hour and a half, and I try to construct and understand what their lives must be, how people are feeling and all of that. I mean, of course, before COVID, this was much more easier. Now, you have to stand on your terrace and look at people. But in that sense, that allows me to have a perspective that not everybody has it figured out, and I might think that mine is a war and everybody is a battle. But when you actually look into people's eyes and faces and you observe somebody for at least good 15-20 minutes, you realize that no, that's not true. Maybe I am struggling just with the work component, and someone out there is struggling with much more grave a health issue or something of that kind. So that's what I mean by diverting your mind, but still keeping the essence of that pain. in your cognizant mind, in your more conscious mind, not burying it, because then it comes years later, it erupts when it's pent up energy. So
Yes.
being able to speak to friends about it, letting it process in your system over and over.
This is
Are you-
also something that we have reservations, like speaking to someone about the pain, like you're saying, speaking about the pain to friends. So there are few people who will reserve the pain like in the heart, and there are few people who will just let it out. So that helps. So this difference.
I
We
think
can
so. There's
pass
a
it on to
connected
Sirisha.
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we can pass it on to
Yes.
Sirisha for question.
Yeah, hi Deepak, how are you?
I'm very good, and congratulations
Uh,
to you all.
No, thank you. First of all, Deepak, it is it's a thank you note that I'd like to tell the audience that how this man does what he preaches, what he practices, and it is in chapter number 21. How can you help make the world feel a better place? And the line is, and so I found that making things special for people when they are attempting something for the first time makes their world a better place. Trust me, Deepak, it's not better. It is something which we couldn't have done without encouragement. And on behalf of all the 4 authors, I really wholeheartedly thank you. And for encouraging us and for taking the time out and encouraging co-authors. It's like, it was very, very heartwarming for us. But my question, Deepak, to you is, again, I have an answer. Please frame a question for me. The background of this is that this is COVID time, and people are forced to be by themselves. I mean, you fall ill and you are isolated. Mentally also, we are isolated now. It's become a habit. Now, my answer is, I'm not done yet. What is the question? Please don't say, are you done yet?
Wow. I would say, what do you want more of? Could be a question, because then your answer would have a follow-up and you can dig in more as to, I am not done yet with this, or I am not done with this. So how do I bring in this onto my plate? So what do you want more of is a question that comes to mind. Because it's also positive affirmation that there is hope, there is desire, and there is still will left despite COVID and its myriad challenges. I've been asking that myself, over these last few months, as to what do you want more for yourself, and in what do you want more yourself, I'm reducing what I don't want. I was just telling Mehek from my team, I said the amount of sessions I've said no to in COVID is on an all-time high. I said, when this COVID gets over and I'm vaccinated and the world is vaccinated, I'm going to have so many people who will dislike me, because the amount of no's I've said for sessions this particular period of time, I had never said in my career. But it actually emerged, Siri, because of my answer to what do you want more of? I wanted more of stillness. And I wanted more of people I like. Not just saying yes because I have to be nice to people. So that is something that I would think. And regarding the book by all 4 of you, I think that's the least I could do, primarily because you've done the hard work, and as I say, writing is like praying and cursing at the same time. So you're like, God, please give me an idea, let my word flow. And then you're like, damn it, nothing is happening, So,
Trust me.
it's the easiest and the simplest thing that you can do is cheer people on. And I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we are forever grateful to you, Deepak. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we were together. My highlight with Millennium Mams, and especially these 4 and the book, was that we were together on a list. I don't remember which, maybe Cosmopolitan.
Yes, Cosmopolitan.
I
was
sent it to my editor.
It was overwhelming, but I was like, how can it go along with Deepak Ramola's book?
I think I celebrated that more than you, because I called up my editor. I said, this has to be the highlight. That's, we are together, and like I in a way I saw the book journey and the entire release process. Oh, it was so rewarding to be part of this, from the first time we met in 2015. So thank
Exactly.
you.
Thank you, Deepak. Thanks once again. That made our day.
So Suman is
Yeah.
there with her tough question, and then we'll give it back to Deepak for questions. Deepak will be conducting after that.
Hi, Deepak.
Hi, Sunali.
Beautiful book. In fact, each and every chapter was so encouraging and so insightful. But what I really liked most, which is probably very relevant in these times, is the chapter number 46, where a line says, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn."
Mm.
So, can you please elaborate on that?
Thank you, Suman, for that question. And um I'm trying to think, as you say this, because I also keep discovering the book in a very different light. This is how you know a book is a good book, when the author themselves use it for their own good. So on my really low days, I actually pick up 50 toughest question as written by somebody else, and I'm like, let me pick up a chapter that I think the universe is trying to tell me. So I have no shame in admitting that I use it for my own good. Um, the quote that you read about, the illiterates of the 21st century, or in many ways the people who will suffer the most, comes from the idea is that we are in a hoarding capacity, just constantly trying to accumulate. We're trying to just learn,
Exactly.
there's so much noise about learn this skill, learn to do this, and get better in this, pick the skills, now this challenge and that challenge, and go in COVID all the way more.
So that
That,
was the most in COVID, because everybody was trying to learn something new.
yeah, absolutely. And so now the smart person in a room or in life, in lifestyle, is not the one who's trying to learn something. The smart person is the one who's trying to unlearn something, because you have already enough information that you need to survive, right? Everybody knows how to switch on the washing machine, how to flick on light, how to sleep on a bed, how to stay healthy, how to cook little bit of two meals
Exactly.
to be. So the basic knowledge of survival, everything else is a bonus. But there are so many things that we have accumulated which we really don't need. For example, this chase for productivity, that we have to constantly be productive. And I see this with women a lot that I get to speak with, is that a lot of times you want a day off, but you will not ask for it, because mentally there is this guilt on how can I really put off my cloak or my this thing, uh, will to be able to serve. And my mother suffers from it, my sister suffers from it, every woman I know in my life suffers from it, that they don't know how to switch off. And I think that's a thing to unlearn, where you literally walk up to somebody you love and say, you know what, today don't bother me, or leave the house. Best alone, leave the house, go somewhere, figure it out. I mean, with COVID it's difficult, so you would say leave the room and go to another room, but leave me today. We don't ask that. And with Apurva here, the managing partner at Project Fuel, and she in her own realm is a fantastic producer. She's the one who produced Delhi Crime. So I was having conversations about her, about the shows she's producing for other platforms. And many a time now that I've been here almost 3 months, Apurva would say one Sunday, guys, go to the beach, or go to the other room and don't bother me for the day. Let me just sit by myself. And what we realized by the end of the day was she was in a much better mood. She was refreshed. She had time to do things her way herself. And it was amazing to see somebody demand that, because I mean, we keep guessing what somebody needs, but to be led by the awareness of what somebody really needs and have them tell us is amazing. And so there's another question in the book: how can someone make you feel loved? And I consider that as one of the toughest questions, because not many people have thought their answers through. They think their answer is what their loved one thinks their answer is, you know. So you can make me feel loved when you throw a birthday party surprise. But really, I mean, do I need a surprise? Do I need another surprise? Do I like getting surprised? You know, those kind of things are very important to sit down. And one of the things is, in many ways, this book is a conversation about yourself with yourself, which hardly takes place. And you know my work, so you know that that's what I champion. Sit down, take a hard look at who you are and where you come from and what you believe in. Because once you've unpacked that, there is a guarantee that you'll be able to deal with the world. And a lot of times, especially since the book came out, a lot of journalists have been seeing my TED talk and my videos. And in one way or the other, they ask, how are you this calm person? How are you this, one of the journalists from Mumbai Mirror asked me, how are you so happy all the time? And I'm like, no. I am happy when I'm out there. I also have low days. And she's like, I saw all your talks, I read all your material, and I didn't see a trace of it. So I said, there are two. And she's like, so why is that, there? And I told her there are two reasons. One is that you really have to earn to see me in pain. You have to really do things worth me opening up to you my vulnerabilities. And because pain too, as you read in the book, in one of the chapters I write, that pain too is a privilege. And you have to choose who gets to see you trodden and trivialized and broken and brutal. I don't want the internet to do that, because they haven't earned the right. They've earned the right to see me happy and hopeful, but they haven't earned the right to see me broken and distorted. The other reason is that the world out there, this life that we live, we know so much how to do this. I know how to log on to a computer, how to type and write a book, how to switch on my Zoom and speak to a group of people that I like for about an hour. I know how to get off this call and make myself some breakfast. I know how to, check in on loved ones. I know all of those things, and they shouldn't frighten me. But within me, I am not calm. If somebody says something very nasty right after this call, calls me up and says, you know what, Deepak, somebody I truly love and care about, my sister says, you're a douchebag and you never listen. In all my years of knowing the world, I will still not know how to respond to it. So within me is a site under construction. There are motors churning. There is, the sound of gravel turning into raw dust. There are emotions finding ways to verbalize themselves. So I told the journalist, within me, there is no calm. And so outside me, there is a calm invariably, because I'm not picking up fights with the world. I don't care about what somebody thinks about me, because I'm still grappling with what I want to feel about myself. And at any given point of time, you can only fight one battle. You can either fight the battle outside of you, in which everybody else has an opinion, everybody else says something, or you can fight the battle within yourself, where you're trying to process the world, your own choices, your own decision making. And I have chosen the former battle of the one within. And it's been very rewarding, because the more I fight that battle within, the more I try to churn and construct the building within and the foundation within, I realize the more I have to share with the world, and it's phenomenal. So we all go through those emotions, and Suman, in many ways that has been possible because I have been able to unlearn what doesn't serve me anymore. So, and I make a list every year. People make resolution lists. Every 31st December, I make a list of things that I should not carry forward or carry over to the next year. And last year, one of the things I said was, just the ability to say yes. I was telling you about how many people I've said no to. So now my rule for 2021 is say yes to a session only if it's a hell yes, not even a yes, because I can't say no. And so I have been saying yes all my life. And now there is a very easy filter. If an invitation or something comes up and I feel it's a hell yes, then I will go forward and do it. If it's a yes, I don't even think about it too much now. So that's the unlearning I had to do for myself.
We are glad that it's hell yes for us. We got lucky
Yes,
that way.
Millennium Mems is a hell yes.
Oh no, absolutely, always.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you so much.
Deepak, I would like to ask you a question here
Yeah.
from your book only. If your life was a cycle of seasons, which season are you in now? I really loved this question and I tried to answer it myself also. I would love to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yes. Oh, I love. Can you tell me the page number? I think it's in the
Yeah,
first
sure. 148.
148.
Yeah, 148.
Yes. I particularly love this chapter because the first page of it, and I can read for some of the members who haven't had a chance to read the book, because I just love it's like it was one of my best writings, I feel, in the book. It says, if life was a cycle of seasons, which season are you in right now? It says, bone chilling winter cold, a quaint autumn of shedding old leaves, letting go of people, but joyous with anticipation of a bloom ahead. Cold snow caves awaiting bonfire warmth, waves of moody monsoon, gloomy affairs in the middle of summer, the parched heat of end June, sunshine with passing clouds, spring with the jolt of new possibilities, in a downpour of romantic love, a storm of uncertainty and anxieties, disciplining everything random into a routine. A bit of winter freeze, longing winds of change, on the brink of a new autumn carrying the reminiscence of the old one, the flourishing innocence of new buds or the acceptance of decayed leaves, a season of aesthetic divinity or a dawn of new colors, a maybe winter or a hell yes autumn, summer sweat gifted under the bright sun in the golden sky, or a mild red face bitten by the agonizing frost, the unbuttoned breeze of May or the dense fog of a hazy January, awaiting rescue or enjoying falling, the odd, uneven, coarse August rain or a dreamy summer afternoon, overcast with doubts or suffocated with the darkness of expectations, fighting the constant drizzle or getting drenched in the outpour, the green of spring or the mustard yellow of autumn. If your life was a cycle of seasons, which season are you in right now? And I love this chapter predominantly because I wanted to be able to tell people there are no four seasons. The four seasons are 400 seasons, depending on how you are willing to experience them. Sometimes the summer also is filled with unexpected drizzle. you know the winter is already harsh, like in Dehradun, and then there is monsoon, and you're like, oh god, it's cold and it's
Yes.
mucky and it's rainy and you don't want to go anywhere and don't want to get any work done. So my thoughts on the question, Sonali, honestly would be to define, first of all, what a summer means to you, what a winter means to you, what a spring means to you, what a monsoon means to you. Because many people are actually defining that very differently. For some people, winter means a really good time to lean within and cozy up with yourself. Some other people, it means very harsh, challenging time. Spring, for of course, majority of people means happiness and newness, but also for a lot of people mean discomfort, and which was a very surprising thing to me, because growing up I thought spring means happiness, summer means hard work. That was my definition. But I met people who said no, spring means change and newness, and I'm not ready for newness. I'm very comfortable in my winter. you know and some people have been in monsoons, which could mean challenges, which could also mean uh, you know washing away of pain, uh, in so long and comfortable. So I would say the first step is to define what the seasons indicate and imply for you, and with that denotation you can look to understand how you're feeling. And I love that question because you can ask it to anybody anywhere. I've asked that to people on dinner table conversations at home. I've asked people that in conference, hey, if and you can make it very casual. So I'll tell you, the trick to asking tough questions is never ask it in a tough tone. Ask them always as if you're asking, by the way, as if you had other important things to do. And you're like, oh my God, I have to finish so many things. By the way, if life was a cycle of season, which season are you in right now? And that, I think, creates the space for people's answers to be profound. If you ask a tough question, making it sound tough, oh my God, it is going to be so hard for people to, process it. So that's a trade secret I'm giving you.
That's great advice. I like to share 2 lines which I wrote for this question.
Yes.
So, as you said in answering this, as different things mean different to different people. For some, rainy day could remind them of their childhood days, like when they used to have hot cup of tea with pakoras. So that would be a lovely time for them. And for some, rainy day could be a nightmare, since maybe some of a close family member passed away in road accidents because of rain. So am I going in the right direction here? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the season of our lives are the measuring tape of our evolution. You have rightly put it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Deepika, I'll invite you for the next question.
Yeah, hi, Sunali. Sorry, I'm in the kitchen. My son is going through exams. Hi, Deepak. I enjoyed your book. Thank you so much for writing it and sharing it with all of us. And thank you, Sunali and team, for picking the book. So my question to you is, I'm very curious to see the bag that you talked about.
It's in the other room, Deepika. So either I'll have to send a picture to Rachna right after the call. Otherwise, I'll lose time from going in and out. But I'll send it to you. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that bag in many pictures. It's everywhere. Yeah. Wherever I could, travel with it. But I'll send it to Rachna as well, so she can personally WhatsApp you.
I'll make sure it reaches her.
Okay, done.
Yes, Deepika loved your book and she already gifted your book to 3 friends of hers.
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
And I was very happy. The friends also enjoyed the book and they said it was such a fast read. And they were so happy that they could reread it and just not go in sequence, like you said, pick it up like a Bible when you have some kind of problems or something. So go to certain questions at certain points. So I think everyone was super happy. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, that's been a very good discovery for me, that it has
I hope you touch 1 million, soon. 1 million. Okay.
It's made for a great gift.
I believe your book has already gone for second print, Deepak.
Yeah, it actually luckily went into a second print in the first week. So, I think people had the appetite for good, tough questions.
Wow.
At least for sure. People are asking me now to write the second volume. And it is, they're like, oh, when is the second, set of 50 toughest questions coming? And I'm like, 5 years. I don't want to write another edition till 5 years, because these questions, their answers will change for you, as I was saying at the start of the session. So you have to keep coming back to the book, like exploit it so that, next set can come.
Yes.
Anybody else who has a question, and I can ask you.
Deepak, there was an interesting observation you had made. When we introduce people, a lot of us, maybe I may also be doing the same, we start giving a LinkedIn profile or saying this one has done this one is from this place, this one is from this place. And you gave an example where you kept asking the person everything about him. And he was only talking about his LinkedIn profile. Then you said that introduce a person by how he is different, maybe his behavior. So can you talk more on that? It was a lovely way of learning how to introduce people.
Oh, thank you, Anuradhaji. Yes, absolutely. It has been the one lesson I have taught in every single class, in every single workshop or talk or speech or, training program that I've done, because that's the basic, how you introduce yourself and how you introduce somebody else. And more so when you introduce yourself, people always use accolades. And actually it comes from my own mistake that I had learned. I was teaching in Kalimpong, many years ago, and I had walked into the class and I said to them, I'm the youngest lyrics writer in Bollywood at the time, I was, and I said I'm a gold medalist in journalism, and I do this and I do that. And a girl said to me, I don't relate to you one bit, because I never want to write songs. And, looking at my report card, I'm never going to get a gold medal. And she said, I couldn't connect with you. And that was a big reality check for me, because I realized what I was doing is introducing with details, introducing with my resume. But I didn't allow her a chance to see a reflection of herself in myself. So from that class on, I asked her, I said, how should I introduce? And, I don't think so. She gave it much, a fanfare and thought, and she said, introduce with love. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense, and since then, I try, it's a hard thing, because when you're in a room, like I was in a conversation with people from UNESCO the other day, and they said, okay, Deepak, tell us about yourself. The first inkling is to tell somebody why you're amazing. What is the last accomplishment you had? But the challenging thing is to put the first thing about yourself in the forefront and then follow it up with whatever, you have to tell people. So introduction with love is important, because even if you're not doing the thing that people have come on to the call, and like if tomorrow I stop writing books, there will be still things I hope you all will know about me, which are irrespective of my author profile. If tomorrow I go and become a farmer, I will still have certain qualities. I will still, value women. I will still, be funny and goofy and tell stories. And I will, be somebody who's optimistic. But it's my job throughout my life to be able to make people aware of that, hey, if I change my profession, I don't lose myself. If I lose my resume, I don't lose myself. I constantly build and discover that. So the introduction with love started with that girl, and it has been phenomenal, because once you know this, the crazy thing also is you can't undo it when people try to now introduce with details. Like now I'm in conversation with people and I'm like, tell me about yourself, and they introduce with details, and I'm like, I now have to start my introduce with love speech right after this, or it's going to take me 20 more minutes to dig up who this person is, not what they do. So, and it's hard. I try to say I love potatoes, and I think all those years ago when I met Millennium Mams in that ICT or ICE auditorium, that's what I said. I said I love potatoes. I think Rachna or somebody would remember it. And
yeah, ICCR, when we had a first event.
Yeah, and I said I love potatoes, and that's not a conventional thing to tell people. But I remember so many women just turned to somebody and gave the nudging, approval that they too love potatoes. Or somebody rolled the eyebrows and said, oh my God, like, why do we need to know this? All of those things are ensuring that people are connecting or disconnecting with what you're saying. And that's good enough. Not everybody has to love potatoes for you to, be friends with them. And also, lastly, introducing with love challenges you to be authentic, to not live off or feed off your credential. If somebody has to like you only because you have a book out, only because you have a gold medal, only because you are someone, then it's the biggest loss of who you are. And a lot of times I introduce with love just to notice whether somebody has space for me or has space for the work that they need from me. And the sooner I get to know it, the sooner I can get done with the business and move on. So and this group, and I keep saying this over and over again, but 6 years in and I'm still speaking, or 7 years in and I'm still speaking to Millennium Man. I still show up for your events. I reach out to Rachna whenever I'm doing something interesting, primarily because the first time I told you I love potatoes, you all had space for it. So I wasn't just a speaker who had to get done with it. which I have done, for last 10 years so well that I've just been someplace once and never turned back. But here we are. I mean, I woke up at 5 a.m. to talk to you all at 6 a.m. And that is the proof of introduction with love. Gauging how you matter. And many members have joined in, roles have changed, Dhanuka sir is still there, very constant. I was telling Dhanuka sir the last time we met, I said, you're a template. The template stays the same. The content within the templates keep getting renovated. So that to me is introduction with love, Anuradha ji.
Thank you. Thank you. There was something also another interesting thing about your love and trust. That was something very, very deep, that somebody you trust, only that person will you reveal your secrets to, not necessarily a person you love.
Yeah. And many people get confused with that. And that's why there is so much of heartbreak and pain and expectation mismatch. I have realized you love the person you trust by default, right? Because if you can go to somebody and tell your secrets, there is love for them. But you don't necessarily trust the person you love. I mean, my best friend, I love him to death. But I will never tell him the first thing when it happens, because I know he'll tell it to 10 people and I will not like it. So I can't trust him with my secrets, and have not for 15 years. But do I not love him? I do. And there are people, I think, in my life where I think when I have to tell something, I call them first up. And because the trust is so dominating in the relationship, love happens automatically, because
the relationship with parents, that is one relationship where love and trust both are there. Parents, you are going to not mind sharing anything with your parents.
Are you talking to my generation? Because Anuradha ji, there is going to be a lot of friction.
You are the same age as my son.
Your son is, you are amazingly lucky. I was just speaking to a group of parents last week and they were like, हमारे बच्चे हमसे कुछ share नहीं करते. What can we do? So I said, you will have to give them space. And also, you don't want to know everything that's happening in their life. It's junk. Why do you want them to open your garage to you? Stay in the living room. And they were like, so yes, various, but I'm glad you have that relationship. It takes a lot to cultivate that, so congratulations on that.
Thank you, Deepak.
All right.
Yes, so Deepak, yeah.
Should I continue, Rachna?
Yes, please.
All right. So we have about 10 minutes and I wanted to just, skim through the book, understand some of your answers. And obviously, if there is a very burning question you have, put it in the chat and I'll try to include it. It's difficult for everybody to answer. So, you can, if you really feel called out to answer, you can raise your hand and we can do a bunch of questions. I'll do one from the book and then I can do some that are not in the book. And maybe we go from there. One of the questions that I really, really love in the book is that if life was an art gallery, are you the art, the artist, or the visitor? And I love that question because to set the context straight, we all are all three in different phases of our lives, right? Sometimes we are the artist, and sometimes we are the art, and sometimes we are the visitor. But overall, when you assimilate your life, where do you find yourself? And which role do you enjoy the most? And I think we can just hear two people answer that, if that's all right. And, somebody who hasn't had a chance to speak.
Yeah, anyone can come in who hasn't had a chance. Yes, Bhavna. Vasudha ji, would you like to come in?
Bhavna? So Bhavna and Sudha ji,
I would like to be a visitor because I'm an artist, but when you bring up your children, then you bring them up with certain aspirations and expectations. So so as an artist, I have created something, and then I want to sit back and observe everyone like a visitor. So That would be
Wonderful.
my take on that.
Thank you, Bhavna.
Yeah.
May I come in?
Yes, yes.
Deepak, my net is weak, so I'm off video.
Sure.
Deepak, I would like to be the art on the wall, so that I can spread inspiration to others.
Lovely. Also, Chetnaji, it does take courage to say you are the art. Let me just say, a lot of people shy away from saying that. So thank you for saying it. That's my answer too. I feel like I would call myself the art as well. And a lot of things people might not assume that answer because they feel that it's narcissistic to call yourself art. But I feel if you feel that way, then proclaiming that is so much better, because then you can live from that. So thank you for saying it. All right. One of the, or let me ask you 2-3 questions, and maybe some of you can, or all of you can attempt answering in the chat box, and we can take 2 people who are answering it on, the video. One of the questions that is going to be part of the next edition of 50 toughest questions that, I'm pre-sharing with you is, have you given up on something beautiful ever, and why? And it's a question I don't have an answer to yet. I am still dealing with the magnanimity of that question. But I love that question, and I would like people to think about it. Have you ever given up on something beautiful? If yes, why? And if no, why too? Why haven't you? All right. Wow. Anybody who feels compelled to answer this on video and what would like to share? Wow, I love the reaction. Now I know it has to be in the second book because it seems like a tough question. Everybody's
Deepak, may
yes,
I?
Chetan. Yes.
I'm trying with my video on. Deepak, from the very beginning, I don't know why, I've always felt that life is always for others. My life is always for others. It's never for me. Like you've written in your book that when you don't belong to anything or anybody or any place, then you are fuzzy because you have to belong to yourself first. But I feel you have to belong to others before you can belong to yourself. So I have given up many things in life. I have given up my aspirations to follow my parents' wishes, my family's wishes. So I've given up many dear things, and I don't repent at all.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's why the question is interesting, because it doesn't have to come from a place of regret. A lot of times we give up on beautiful things because that's the need of the hour. And I love that you say that you don't have any repent, because that's what I'm really hoping for to encourage people on, that giving up on something beautiful is not always sad. It's sometimes opportune. It is the right thing to do. But for the part where you say life is for others, completely agreed. But I also truly believe it is also for you. In the Bible, in the Vedas, in most world philosophies, they say, my cup runneth over, which means whatever is in the cup is for you. Whatever is overflowing from the cup is for everybody else. And the reason that happens, Chetna ji, is because if the cup runs empty by giving, it'll not give at all. The Africans have a proverb for it. They say, be cautious when a naked person offers you a shirt, which means first dress yourself up so well that you have additional fabric left to dress other people up. Rashna, please come in and share.
Yeah, Deepak, I would say that I have not given up anything beautiful consciously. Unconsciously, yes, because we have a feeling for others, definitely. But first, as you said, that we have to be happy to make others happy. So I don't think consciously I would, and if the situation is on my side, I would never leave anything beautiful for anyone. First, I'll make myself satisfied, and then I'll be able to make the world happy. So I don't want to be I don't want to be a person who's always sacrificing and taking care of everything, all the situations. I would love to make myself happy first. So this is
Amazing.
my idea. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. And that's what, I would like to specify that the 50 toughest question allows you, hopefully, to know that there is no right or wrong answer. Everybody has their own 50 answers, and those 50 answers, as I said, will change, will not change, and there is no right or wrong. And so you can always build upon, like I was playing this game the other day, with a couple of friends here, and somebody said, I think I am a visitor, and her husband immediately jumped and said, no, 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 baby, you're the art, and tried to convince her that she's not a visitor. And I was telling him, I said, I just want to tell you, it's her chance to answer. Don't answer for her. So a lot of times we convince people that your answer is not the right answer, because let me tell you what my answer of your answer should be, and that is the right answer because I know you well. Never works. And also, you never listen to people. You never listen to honestly tell them or ask. So even because I'm telling this to you all, when you do this 50 toughest question as a game with your friends and family, do not tell them no, no, no. Even if the question was, are you okay, and they say no, I'm not. I was in with the family at a dinner table, and they were playing this game, and they said, no, 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 you are okay, huh? We love you. And the person is saying, no, I don't feel okay. That's not what my answer is. And everybody was trying to tell that no, everything is okay, and that creates more rift. It creates not holding space. So that's a good thing to ponder. And yeah, Rachna, as you said, we can function from a place of really doing things for ourselves and not feeling selfish, and allowing it to happen for others. The last question I would like to ask all of you, that's not in the book, and maybe you all can answer that in the chat box, is, if your life was a PhD research, what is the hypothesis you're trying to prove? So how every research has a 2-line thing that they're trying to prove, right? There is whatever, black holes.
Hypothesis, yes.
Yes. So what is the hypothesis you're trying to prove? I was asking this to Apurva the other day, and I said, what is the hypothesis? And she said, that you can have it all is my hypothesis. Because she's a mother who has a 1-year-old child. She's a producer. She's a wife. She's also running Project Fuel with me. So she said, I feel my hypothesis is, you can have it all. So thank you for all of you are writing. And after the call, ponder upon turning this into a hypothesis that you're trying to prove something that you haven't proven already. So for example, Chetna ji, as you've written, that's great. It all boils down to love. That's a hypothesis you're trying to prove. Change is the only constant. Does pain really survive, or it's just an eyewash? That's a great one, Rachna. That there are no miseries in the world. Wow, that's profound. Vasudhaji, that's really, really nice. No miseries in the world. Love is answer to all questions. Life is beautiful. Amazing. So you take this hypothesis and you live in the cognizance, in the awareness of this hypothesis. And for the next coming months, every decision you take, try to ask yourself, does this decision or its outcome prove the hypothesis that I've set out to prove? That is, I'm telling you, it has changed my life significantly. Because if my hypothesis, which many of you have overheard by now, is that in a world full of stars, try to be a constellation, or can you be a constellation? And so every time I take a decision, I ask myself, does this make me shine as a star, or does it allow for me to be a constellation? So when I wrote 50 toughest questions, it's an act in being a constellation, because I want to listen to other people's answers. It's not a book where I'm just answering for myself. I'm not giving room and enough space. So it allows for the process to become easier. So thank you for all your wonderful hypotheses and what you're trying to prove. You can actually print it and put it above your mirror. And every day you look into the mirror and over the mirror, remind yourself what your hypothesis is, because some days will be very challenging in proving that to you. Lastly, I would say that, I have started work on my next book. It's called At the Speed of Flowers. And it comes from the idea that, a lot of my friends and a lot of people I know in the world take pride in saying, I'm going at the speed of light. And they're always chasing something and all of that. I wanted to provide a counter analogy to that. And I thought, what if we grew at the speed of flowers? And it is also an oxymoron. It's an irony, right? Because flowers don't have speed. You don't relate that to them to speed, but it uncovers beautiful things when you want to grow at their pace, at their length. So I've started work on that. Maybe when we do the next Millennium Ma'am session, I can share you some things that I've written. It's going to take a while. As I said, writing is praying and cursing at the same time. But I have found a structure, and I encourage all of you, and people like Siri and others in the group can really guide you to writing your own books if you ever wish to. So feel free to do that in your pursuit. Try attempting a book if you wish to write, that is. Lastly, I would say thank you everyone who's wishing with their congratulations. Lastly, I would say this Tanzania project is what I wanted to end with. Thank you for those who have contributed. The idea really started in 2018. I went on a research tour to document wisdom of women in Tanzania. And I met from Miss Tanzania, Faraja Lendu, to this really fifth generation, amazing sculptor named Mandale. And I met the Maasai woman. And I asked her, in the interview, and I said, what is the biggest challenge you face in your life? And she said, none. And I was amazed. And I said, but to be human is to have challenge. Tell me something. And she said, oh, the usual. I want my children to do well, want my husband to be healthy, my in-laws to be fine. As the day went by, I saw her looking up at the passing clouds, and she was very happy, like beaming with joy. So I said, you look very happy. And she said, oh, yes, monsoon is my favorite season of the year. And I said, why is that? And she said, oh, it's the only time I can rest in the afternoons. I said, what do you do otherwise? And she said, I walk 9 hours every day to fetch water. 9 hours. And this is in 2018 and in 2021 till now. And I couldn't believe. I mean, imagine yourself and imagine your schedule. And imagine if you had to just now add 9 hours to walk for water. It's unfair to everything that woman can achieve. And so many young children drop out of school because they are the ones who have to help their mothers and the 200 cows and goats to be taken to a water source. So I spoke to, her name was Mama Mary, and I said to Mama Mary, as I heard that, I said, I would like to do something. Let's do something about it. And she said, it will come to you. And I thought, yes, maybe. And then I invited her son to India in December of 2018. I took him to Sword. Those of you who've been to Sword, like Rachna, know that we painted that village and we created that. So I invited him there, and I said, this is what we've done with villages in India. And he said, can we adopt this model for Tanzania? Now, I knew painting the village will not still help his mom not walk 9 hours. So we consulted for over 8 months with the tribe, with the elders, with his mom, as to what was the first basic requirement. And we discovered that the requirement was of a community center, because this was a nomadic tribe and they all move constantly so much that there is no central place for them to come and discuss their problems. The women meet every Thursday under a big tree to make their jewelry and pass it on, to sell it. So with that vision, we set out to create a community center. And as many of you who would have contributed to the campaign must have seen in the update section, during COVID, one of the most hopeful things for us was that the community center got constructed. And it's this beautiful facility that is now a school, that is also a self-help, women hosting space. And now the fundraising that we are doing is for the second phase. Right after the monsoons get over, we will be able to document the Maasai culture, create 50 exhibits on Google Arts and Culture. We'll be able to paint the village. We'll be able to paint the community center. And with this money, we will be able to furnish the school. So the kids will have furniture, the computers and all of that. And also we will be able to start the first step towards the water harvesting, which is to create a very big underground tank for rainwater harvesting. So thank you for those who have contributed. I will encourage you all to pass on the link and the message to your friends and family who are wanting to be able to make the world better and contribute. So thank you for joining in the journey. And Rachna, thank you for that, the first call we had, and you were so open and kind into putting this together. So thank you again for that.
Thank you, Deepak. You are an inspiration. Sonali, please, could you come up with the vote of thanks?
Yes. Thank you, Deepak. In the words of Pema Chodron, the most fundamental harm we can do to ourselves is to remain ignorant by not having the courage and the respect to look at ourselves honestly and gently. Deepak, with your phenomenal book and this enlightening session, you have provoked us all to look deep inside and answer these 50 toughest questions of life. I wish the session could go on forever. Thank you for yet another mesmerizing session. We wish you good luck in future endeavors and look forward to having you again for your next book. And thank you, Suryodaya members and ma'ams, for joining us this evening. Thank you, Deepak, once again.